Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to Survive and Advance on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your co-host for Survive and Advance, Mike Goodpasser. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host, an Indiana basketball legend, at least in his own mind, a part of the 1981 National Championship team. Help me welcome to the show, Steve Risley.
Good afternoon, I think, to you guys. Good morning to me.
Yep. Yeah.
Out here in LA.
I know, and it's 90 degrees and sunny, right?
No, actually, we have what's called May gray. The clouds come in off the ocean. They stick around all day, and we get some nice, cool, gray weather this time of the year. The only suck part is it's not warming up my pool. And my dogs want to go swimming, and I want to go swimming. And it's kind of like playing football in 40-degree weather and 30-mile-an-hour winds in the rain. I feel like a pansy. When that happens, I just feel like a pansy.
Okay. Risley, you're a basketball player. You are a pansy. Our guest today, we had here a couple weeks ago, Darin Burns, former CFL defensive lineman, who this past weekend became the first Canadian to play organized football in 6 decades. How you doing, Darin?
I'm doing well. Thanks, guys.
All right, and you suited up for the Moncton Mustangs. Did I say that right?
Moncton Mustangs, that's correct, yeah.
All right. You played 20 snaps against the Fredericton Fleet. You made 2.5 tackles prior to leaving the game at halftime. You had a hamstring injury, which I think a lot was due to the rainy weather. Your team won 24-0. So how was it to get out there in a real game again?
It was great. The first play, I made the tackle for a loss, so I can't complain too much. I was a little fired up, come off the ball pretty quick, and got in there. And and then once I got that first hit in, it just felt like old school football for me. Everything kind of came back.
All right, so Steve, I know that when you get out of your chair, you said you pull your hamstring every day.
It's kind of a reoccurring injury that I have now since I turned 56. It just popped into my body.
56. Come on, Risley.
And then for the last 6 years, it's just been every time I get up to get a beer, to go back and watch NASCAR, it pulls. No, the question I have for you in playing the game, Darin, what did you find skill set did you lose the most? Quickness, strength, agility? Where did you find, holy cow, I forgot these guys are this?
At this level of ball, I noticed my quickness wasn't as, I'm probably the quickest guy off the line on our defensive line for the first 2 yards. But if the quarterback's rolling out and stuff like that, you do feel your age a little bit. And that's why Jason kind of shoved me inside to be more effective. Like I was double teamed pretty much every time I was out there, but I was still able to push guys around. As far as strength, I'm one of the strongest guys on the team, if not in the league. So that you never lose that old man strength, and your nasty edge, which I do play with. I didn't lose any of that. So I would say, if a quarterback's rolling out, I got to get out there a little bit at him. That was a little difficult. The other thing is that I'm a defensive end naturally, so playing defensive tackle, my son was getting my daughter to come down at halftime, but I said, well, listen, Daddy, going back out. But he was saying I was playing more like a defensive end going after a quarterback for, a sack than a tackle. And that just, because I've played that position pretty much my entire life. But I was taking the double team and pushing them down about 4 yards back. I had no problems. It just felt good. Everything. I think the 16 months of preparation, watching a lot of film, not our league film, but just film in general, and getting in tune with how offensive linemen block today and how defensive linemen are going after the offensive line and the quarterback with different maneuvers and different hand drills and what have you. I've been able to incorporate that into my game now. So. I didn't have a problem, actually. I felt really good. It was just good.
So safe to say the mechanics are there.
Yeah.
Your mechanics, you didn't lose any ground on your mechanics, just the physicality a little. I mean, I like the phrase the nasty edge. I used that on my wife this morning when I went into the cabinet, and there were no more jars of Pringles. And I'm like, I told her, I said, I don't ever want to see the food pantry without Pringles in it ever again. I got a little nasty with her. And she said, you got a big-ass pickup truck sitting out there, and you have cash in your wallet and credit cards. Drive your ass to the Smart and Final and go get Pringles.
Been blaming on COVID.
Did Coach kind of tell you, kind of just get after it more, or was he satisfied with your play?
No, my coach in the article today in the paper was really pleased with everything and said that, I'm bringing a lot to the team. So I'm not like I've talked to the kids. I don't want to get a play because I'm Darin Burns. I want to get on a play because I earn every snap that I get, and I'm earning them. The kids are looking up to me. I had some pretty good bull rushes at practice last week where you could actually hear, the impact and stuff like that, which you caught the attention of my younger teammates on the defensive line when they heard of hitting out an offensive lineman. So no, I've got the respect. I work hard. Even if I can't practice, I will be there at practice tonight. I'll be, stretching and trying to get my leg back so the guys will see me going at it. And then I work with the kids. I work with them on the coaching, their technique and what have you. The only thing, the thing I really noticed in my game was my mental aspect has not dropped at all. Like I was seeing plays before they were even coming at me. I was like reading the offensive lineman, and I was looking up at the quarterback and the running back, and was picking up a cue, and I had a good idea where everything was going. So, I just the only part I think, getting back to your question on that, is just the speed. Is just I got quickness, but it's just the speed. Once you get past your third yard, you got to get out a little bit more. That's when 20-year-old, 22-year-old kids should be able to run a 57-year-old man.
Yeah, Mike, let me ask one more question, then I'll shut up.
You can ask as many questions as you want, Steve. You know you never have to shut up. You just like to play like you have to.
All right. Tying into that, Darin, you have a game next Saturday, correct again?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, so how does Darin Burns spend this week based on what he learned from the first time he's been on the field in a while to where he saw his strengths and where he saw where he needs to improve? What does the preparation week look like for you, aside and including healing your hamstring enough to be able to play?
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing, is just my hamstring, and then I'm going to get into a lot of film because this team is a really good team. So I'm just going to study in on the offensive line, look for tendencies. But as far as what I did in my game, I don't think there's really too much I can that I'm going to really jump up. I might stay a little lower coming up because I was getting up a little bit, but that was because my leg was getting a little sore. But I think that looking at the film that I saw and the pictures that I saw, I was firing off, man. Like it was really enjoyable to see. So I can't really evaluate. I think the weather conditions, everything made, you were more in survival mode to get through the game without, freezing to death or, getting hit and then shattering or what have you. So I think this week will be a good test. I will be able to figure out more of my game at that point. And then there's still 6 more games left in the season. So I'm sure that I'll be quite ready for this weekend.
All right, we have a question on Twitter through direct message, which you can do that, or you can ask us directly from Facebook and everything else. We have somebody there I don't even know what that means. Steve, do you speak Turkish?
No, I do not. I wish I did, but I do not. I apologize.
All right.
I'm not going to make any fun of it because it's probably making fun of me. So
Probably. That's, yeah. I mean, he had somebody from Wales ripping on him 2 weeks ago. So
boxing.
What happened when Risley has to talk about boxing. But the question is this, what level of football is this? Is this like American semi-pro? Or
it's American semi-pro.
Okay, so it's nothing. So you don't get selected for the team. It's basically if you want to play on the team, you sign up for the team.
No, we had 103 guys try out and 52 made the team.
Yeah, that's not American semi-pro. That's beyond American semi-pro.
Okay, all right. Well, I don't know what it is down there, but we had 100 guys trying out and 50 made it. So and I started. So
I think American semi-pros, if you've got a valid credit card, you can play.
Yeah, American semi-pro.
I was actually asked to go down to the States to play. I had a couple of teams down in the States ask me if I would come down to the States and set the record down there, because actually getting back to it, I don't think anyone in the U.S. has done it yet, the 6 decades competitive football. Like, we're not talking high school. We're talking above high school. So our junior, which would be like junior college and up. I don't think anyone's done that in the States as well. So it's what I've been told by people down connected with the NFL. So
Darin, out of 20 plays in one half of football, did you get any inclination as to whether you can do anything in the CFL?
I know that I can play, get a few reps in. Like, again, if I had to play a full quarter or full, my body would just be tore up, because those kids would just be like, those are just moving, missiles around and stuff like that. But to go out there and do, like I said, do a couple of plays and a few series here and a few series there, yeah, I can definitely handle it. like I said, my strength would be there. If I went into Toronto and or whatever team I went into the gym and lifted, I'd be one of the stronger guys in the locker room. So I'm not too worried about getting pushed around. I am a 300-pound man and basically it's all muscle. So they would have I would be able to handle myself there.
All right. Well, let me ask a tough question then. Based on what you just said, when do you start worrying about whether you're a viable contributor in the CFL or a sideshow?
Well, I don't want to use the word sideshow. What I'm trying to do is delivering a message about abuse, about the things. So that brings up to another platform, because if I can achieve that, that makes me the oldest professional athlete in a team contact sport in the world. That's never happened before. That gives me a platform to deliver a message out. As far as going out there, and I went up against anybody for 6 plays, they want to treat me like a show, I'll hand them their testicles back. That won't happen. But to go out there and do, like as a backup defensive lineman for a plug in here, a plug in there, a plug in there, and hell, I could do that all season long. But that's not how I'm wired. When I go, I want to be the starter. I want to be this. I want to be that. So I would have a really hard time sitting back on the bench and stuff. I'm actually having a hard time in rotation, because I've never been that. I was the number 1 defensive lineman in junior football in the country here. My stats, when I retired as a junior, I had the national record for sacks in a season, sacks in a career, and sacks in a game. And 37 years later, I'm in the top 3. And the guys that beat me in this career, they played 5 seasons. I did that in 2. So, I'm really competitive, and I'm competitive with the kids on the team. And, so getting to it, I don't think I'd be a sideshow, but I'm delivering a message with impact.
So you're using the football as a vehicle to get your message across on abuse. Yeah. Okay.
I believe it as athletes.
Fair enough. Fair answer.
As athletes, it's our responsibility. Forget our political leaders, stuff like that. As athletes, we're the ones that set the example, set the role models for our community. We're the ones that kids look up to. We're the ones that can make the most changes and impact in our community by doing right things. So I firmly believe that, and I believe that I am an athlete, that I can try to make some change in this, because I think it's something that needs to be addressed. Because you start looking at suicide rates, drug overabuse, you start looking at all these things, and you try to get to the root of what happened and why they turned out this way. A lot of it's going to come back to physical, sexual abuse when they were kids. You go through the prison systems, you go through all that. There was something there that really screwed people up and put them on the path that they went to. So all I'm trying to do is create a dialogue, a discussion, and bring this to a relevant level that people can actually sit back and talk about it. I have a book coming out. It's going to be out in about October, and it's going to talk about my life and talk about the struggles and stuff like that, and try to get people to open up about, the biggest thing I had was to talk about being sexually abused. How does a man go into a locker room and talk to his friends and do this and do that? We're supposed to be these big, tough, macho men, and that shouldn't happen to us. So I think if a guy can be 6'5" and 300 pounds and stand in front of a room and say, hey, it happened to me, it might make people more open to start talking about it. And what I want to do is I want to reach the younger kids to get them to talk about it. Right. I had a guy 72 years of age that was ready to kill himself, but he found actually on your podcast, saw me on it, and he felt compelled to reach out to me and said he had basically had a rope and he was going to hang himself by his mom's grave.
Mike, I'm going to let you follow up with that one.
Well, I think I actually sent you that, Mike, to read that, didn't I?
Yeah. And we have a message from somebody at NASCAR Hot Rod who says, ask Steve Risley who the oldest auto racer was to ever race in a race.
It was, I don't think it was Dick Trickle.
Hey, you know what? Even if it's not Dick Trickle, there's no better name to say.
It may be in Lake Speed. Lake Speed, I think, was in his 70s when he was running.
Oh, I got you this. Herschel McGriff in 2018 was 90 years old and raced in a race.
He didn't run in a cup race.
It was a professional race, though.
Right. Okay. Well,
I thought you knew everything about auto racing.
I think Lake Speed was the oldest actual cup driver ever to run.
And this is actually Sean from Wales that asked you the question.
Sean. I like Sean. Sean treated me fairly. I got what I deserved from Sean.
All right. So is it safe to say that your goal is not to actually make a CFL roster, but just to get in a game and to get on that field to raise awareness for what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I could not play like those kids are like to do a full season, 18. Or we play 18 games. Well, this year's gonna be a shorter season, but to do that, my body wouldn't be able to handle it. But like I said, just get into the sign, go into camp for a week, and do a preseason game. You know, a lot of things would have to happen. The CFL would have to grant it. The players union would have to grant it. The league would have to basically allow a CFL team, to take example of the Argos, an extra spot at training camp, because I do not want to go in there and take a spot from a guy that actually deserves to be there, that has a shot at making the team. But to bring me in, I think it would be a great message for the league, the team that I'm playing for. So I can't see any problems with it as far as myself getting injured. I'm not worried about that. I mean, at practice, the guys are not flying around during a game. I mean, I can get I'll get probably hurt playing easier in this league than I would there in the pros, because the pros have a little bit more respect for the players when they're, because it's their livelihoods, versus this one here. I mean, I could have a kid that's 22 that wants to take out an old pro, right? So I got to really watch my knees, and I got to watch that sort of stuff. I was double teamed. They didn't treat me like an old man on Saturday. I was in for my plays.
Yeah, and has Randy Ambrose, have you had any contact with him to see what he thinks?
I haven't talked to Randy about this. Last time I talked to Randy was about a year and a half ago. But Randy is kind of like the person. I'm sure he's heard of this. I've got people that are repping me and handling me, and I'm letting them do the conversations. I got an agent out of Saskatchewan that's helping me out. So we'll see where the dialogue of all this goes. And I've got some guys in the CFL that are connected with certain teams, are trying to push the narrative to give me a shot. But right now, we got to get the season announced. We're saying it's going to be the beginning of August, but I mean, BC hasn't even approved the sport yet over there, so we don't know what's going to happen here. And things are going to move along. They're going to move slow for a bit here, but when it happens, I believe it's going to move really quickly to a season. So we don't really know. I know the league is scheduling for the beginning of August.
So do you think there will be a season? Because I would think with the CFL, you don't have the big money contracts the NFL has. 2 straight years without a season, there could be some serious issues with the CFL.
Yeah, I would say so. I would think that the league will play an abbreviated season this year. I think that if they can't, I think the government should step up and help the league out, because at the end of the day, they're helping out everybody else. The Canadian football is an important brand to our country. It employs a lot of Canadians and brings up and gives Americans opportunity. It's great entertainment. It's the longest running league around. It's got great history on it. It'd be crazy for the government to not help this, because the league is complied with everything the government has set up. You can't play. You can't do this. You can't do this. It's not safe. And I think that they should help out some of these teams get some financial aid. I mean, they're bailing out the airlines. At the end of the day, they should help the league out at some point. And I think something will happen if they can't. But we just got to wait around and see what's going to happen.
Hey, Darin, don't worry, because if the Canadian government won't help, rest assured the American government will step in and help out, because they're helping out every other foreign country in the world right now, not taking care of our own. So they'll definitely come up there and save CFL football.
As long as it's U.S. funds, I'm all game
if
on
we can
that.
harvest some votes out of it. So, Mike, I just opened up a can of worms.
Why, you plan on going
Mike's
fishing?
thinking.
Mike's not thinking. I just wonder what Risley thinks sometimes, because sometimes you really wonder what Risley's thinking.
Never know.
I think we'll have a season. I think we'll have a season. I think there's a lot of guys who are sitting on couches, talking and stuff like that. And the CFL's kind of gone quiet right now. And so when they've gone quiet, because they're trying to put a business plan together, like everyone expects answers immediately. This, that, the answer, ask a question, all this kind of stuff. Sometimes when they're in there putting a plan together and the big boys are in the room having a discussion, they keep it quiet because they don't want things to leak out and get gossip, being spread around, stuff like that. So what happens is we don't get any answers. And so people sit around the couches and, want to play general manager, want to play owner or what have you. They start coming up with their own ideas, and the way everything starts to run and go. I think everyone just needs to sit back, relax, let the big boys do their thing. There's millions of dollars at stake here that affects the owners. So I firmly believe that they will come to some conclusion that's going to get the game going this year. And I believe that the provinces will probably cooperate. And I'd like to see our government help out a little bit because they've been helping out everybody else. And this is a privately run league that's been ravaged by the COVID virus. And, they're going to need some help. They supported the government in their decisions to shut down. They've shut down their business with zero revenue to come in. And because, there's no game, there's no product, there's no advertising, there's nothing. So basically the teams are running on skeleton staff right now and trying to go by it. But I know that there's going to be enough interest here in Canada to want to see football going this summer. So, and I hope so, because I'm a fan of our league, of our game.
Yeah, I am too. And I'm just worried because Randy Ambrose is the commissioner, not to say anything mean. And I know you can't with your situation, but I know there's a lot of players and a lot of fans that are upset in Canada. And Steve, Randy Ambrose is the CFL commissioner.
CFL commissioner, yeah.
Yeah, he's like Roger Goodell.
Randy's a great guy. Randy's a great
guy. No.
No.
He's not like Roger Goodell.
Nobody's like Roger Goodell.
Nobody's like Roger Goodell. But Roger Goodell makes $75 million a year.
Yeah.
No, I like Randy. He's actually a former offensive lineman. He knows the game. He didn't have to take this job, but he took it because he wanted to do something well for the CFL. He's got a great family guy. There's not, all I can do is that you're gonna have people that are gonna say crap about him and all this kind of stuff, but they don't know what the hell's in. He's in a rock and a hard place, and he's trying to make everything go. I wouldn't want to be in that position, and you couldn't pay me 10 times what he's getting to be in his seat. I have to take my hat off to the guy because he's walked into a hornet's nest. Let's say he becomes commissioner, and then a couple of years later, boom, COVID's here, and it's just ripped the whole league apart and everything like that. It's a tough pill for him to take care of, and I think that fans need to take a step back and get off his behind and let him figure this out.
But fans will never do that.
I know, but they need to take a chill pill. They need to take that. At the end of the day, you get fans that ridicule. They should have done this as a player. You should have done that play. You should have done that play. Well, get off your ass, go to a gym, work out, and go try out and see if you can make an impact. Everyone tries to do their best. I get we need the fans. And they probably take it more serious than the players do, which is great, I guess, at some point. But right now, I think that fans need to tone it down a little bit and let the players of our league, the NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, the NHL, let them figure it out, because we're in times where people, there's no playbook for this. It's like, okay, we're going to try this out, and it didn't work. So everyone goes, oh, that person, nobody knows what to do here. It's uncharted territory. And, with all the sporting teams and everything else, we're dealing with billions and billions and billions of dollars. And it's a pressure cooker, and shows like yourself, you need the sport content. You need this, you need that. You need all that energy to go. And if there's no real sports going on, it just, everything kind of sucks. And people, there's nothing to live for and all. I get it all. But right now we need the big boys to keep doing what they're doing and figure their way through this BS that we're in and, get the games on the field.
Steve.
So.
I've never known you to be
I'm just going to say I entirely or partially do not agree with Randy's or Darin's statements.
Entirely or partially?
I don't think the statement of saying, if you don't like it, go put on a pair of pads and go play. First off, 99.9% of the people can't do that, okay? And without the fans, Randy, I keep wanting to say Randy, I can remember right now. Darin, you would be doing a desk job somewhere in some office, selling insurance or something like that. You're privileged to play a sport. And I guarantee you, I don't know what the CFL has done, but I guarantee you there's probably not one NFL franchise that's taken a loss through COVID. They've minimized their staff. They've deferred. They're still making a profit.
Steve, there's a big difference between the NFL and the way
I
they
agree.
operate the CFL.
Well,
sit there and tell me that if you don't like it, go put on a pair of pads and go play and see what you can do. You're gifted. You're a gifted.
In fairness to my statement, in fairness to my statement, what I was trying to say is, you got all these people that are trying to be all these coaches and stuff like that, coming up with all this stuff, and they're creating more controversy. Yeah. But they're creating more controversy than what's really needed right now. What we need to do is have calm waters, let the big boys figure a game plan and come out. But because there's people expect we have a problem, we expect an answer today. Well, Craig, COVID has changed like 5 times in the last year. Like you figure you're going to go left and they have to go right. You have to go. Let those guys figure it out. Calm the waters down. Don't be out there looking for blood is what I was getting at.
And I would argue with you. I would argue with you that before they ever sit in the room, it's figured out. Right now, they go to the room. They go to the room and try and figure out how to spin it back to the people.
Mm-hmm. Now, in the NFL, their TV revenues are about $10 billion a year. Am I right?
At least.
In Canada, our TV revenue for our entire league is around $36 million.
Right.
10 billion.
No, but everything's relative.
The point is this, Steve.
Everything's relative. I'm sure your salaries. I'm sure you're not paying Aaron Rodgers $45 million to be quarterback of the Green Bay Packers.
Hey, Steve.
Either.
No,
Steve.
So it's all relative.
Steve, the thing that's relative is this. I mean, when you look at it, the CFL to be successful without government intervention has to have butts in seats. You know, they have to sell tickets. So if you're a CFL team and you're not getting any help from the government, which usually I'm not real big on help from the government, but I think the CFL does need to before they lose this league. And this league is, I mean, the Grey Cup is a lot older than the Super Bowl. It's a lot older than the NFL. And it's part of the fabric of Canada. And when you look at this, you got to have butts in seats. So you can't play with empty stadiums without help. So you got to be, I mean, if they come up and say you can only have 20% capacity, I mean, without help, I think that destroys the CFL.
I don't know the political situation in Canada that well. I really probably should be a little bit.
Hey, the political situation in Canada,
I think the last thing
States, it's a joke.
I think the last thing this country would do to get yourself in this country, United States, to commit political suicide would be to start funding NBA, NFL, and MLB and NHL teams to survive right now.
How about this, though? In Canada, I think the way you hurt yourself is to not do that.
Yes. We got a different culture when it comes to it. Our Canadian Football League is our league. It's not an American league. Our NHL, our baseball, our NBA, that is all south of the border.
Okay,
it's all that, and we're going on. And so we are able to dig in there and we can pay all those things. Our league has in players. We have to have so many Canadians on a team, and then the rest are Americans or import players. We force Canadians to play. We give our university players an opportunity to play in our league and then play on our national brand, on our national stage, and what have you. The United States are 10 times the size of us, but even if you go 10 times the size of us, $45 million in TV revenue. If you go 10 times, it's $450 million. It's far less than $10 billion. So, you guys love, and this is one thing I love about Americans, love their sports. The people get behind it. Towns get shut down for high school football and stuff like that. In Canada, it's a little different, unless maybe Montreal Canadiens, if you're living in Quebec. I mean, the whole city will shut down to win the Stanley Cup.
I think youth hockey is pretty big in Canada.
Hockey is to a point, but because we have a lot more Europeans and Americans and foreign players playing and stuff like that, it's kind of lost its edge. Back in the 70s and 80s, hockey was dominated by Canada. It was Canadian, a lot of Canadian content and what have you. Now you're getting owners coming in that aren't from the area. They don't know. So the culture has changed the business has changed the culture of the game in Canada. The CFL has always been successful by having Canadian players playing, having their friends and family and high school people come down. If you really want to run a successful CFL franchise, you've got to get your base kids growing up through high school, through the ranks, have the CFL team support minor football, get those kids to come up through the system. The Ottawa Rough Riders in the 70s were really successful because they had the Ottawa Sooner football program. They had 2 universities there. They cultured the players. When you bring a kid out of junior college, there's no draft. It became a territorial thing. So they put money behind the Ottawa Sooners, and they'd have 4 or 5 kids that would end up playing on the Ottawa Rough Riders because they didn't have to be drafted. They were part of their farm system, if you will. Next thing you know, they're playing for the Rough Riders, and they're bringing in 5,000 fans, their friends and family, to watch them play. Then you top it off with the other 15,000 fans that come. You've got a sold-out stadium. The product works. So it's a little different here. We take pride in our Canadian athletes, and we take pride in our Canadian league. And, I just would hate to see the league fold. That's why I'm saying, the fans have got to just tone it down a little bit. Let the government, when the CFL went out to ask for some money, the fans were shitting on them and doing all this kind of stuff. But they're basically saying, like, if I said to you listen, go home, you can't work, we're not letting you work, we're not going to give you any money, you have to stay home, and we're going to let you out in 2 years, you'd be screwed. And that's kind of what's happened here in Canada with the CFL. They're abiding by the rules that the government's laying out, and they're not complaining, but they need to have their fair shake because everything has been shut down. Whether that is, have each team get a little extra money so we can have our product and play with no fans in the stands, so we can get through a season and have everyone stay at home and watch it on TV. One, it would help the COVID, keeping the numbers down, but putting 25,000 people in a party. It would keep everything down. It would provide an entertainment that we all desperately need here, because I've seen in Canada and the States, like young kids, their football season been wiped out and they committed suicide. Their college, there was a kid in Maine who was a high school player, and when they announced his high school season was going to be canceled because he was getting ready for his college, he ended up killing himself. I mean, we need the sports. We all need sports. We need all this stuff, and I think our government should help our truly Canadian league. That's the only one that we have.
I disagree with you entirely.
Yeah, well,
I do not think that the government should be funding professional sports franchises. I think the success of the CFL has been involved around the fact that they've always lived within their means. They never tried to get too frazzle-dazzle. They stayed within their means and kept their franchises operating by staying within their means and doing what they could do with the money they had allocated to them and the money that was available in the economy. And the CFL has become a great product over the years. But if I moved to Canada tomorrow, the very first thing I would do would not be to buy a season ticket to a CFL team. It would be to get Dish TV put into my house and get the NFL season pass.
Well, there you go. You see, that's the thing. But
the ugly American,
we look at it differently. Yeah. No, what I'm looking
at. My beloved Colts.
Yeah. Well, you see, the thing is that if the CFL doesn't get any funding, then they should sit there and say, well, screw it. You're not going to control our rules around our stadium. We're going to sell tickets, and whoever wants to screw COVID and show up to a football game, go in there. And the government doesn't want that.
But that's the way it should be.
Yeah, but the government doesn't want that. So because the government doesn't want that, they're suffering.
Why doesn't the government just give them a tax-exempt operating status and let them operate as tax-exempt franchises in order to save the country mentally and spiritually? And
that's where
the greatest thing Canada's done. They gave us Justin Bieber and Drake.
Yeah.
Jeez. We got both of them from Canada. Steve? And basically, you can have them both back.
And actually, Drake. Okay, just a fun story there. My mentor Bruce, his kids grew up with Drake. Bruce was like Drake's godfather, and when Bruce passed away, Drake's next album came out was dedicated to Bruce.
Cool.
And Drake was at
Canada. Canada also gave us Shannon Tweed Simmons, who was Miss Playmate 1976, and Gene Simmons' wife, some Saskatchewan.
You're not even a sports fan if you don't bring up George Chuvalo.
So what is it, Saskatchewan or something like that?
Saskatchewan?
No, it's not Saskatchewan. Oh, okay. It's not Saskatchewan. It's Saskatchewan, isn't it?
Saskatchewan. No, but no, she was actually apparently from Newfoundland at one point.
No, she's from a town called Saskatchewan or something like that.
Why are we going to
look it up?
Okay.
All right, I'm going to Google it right now.
Okay, Google it.
But I agree with you on the government's not getting involved. But when the government's putting a restraint on an actual business from actually operating, they're saying, hey, don't do this. They need to then say, fine, write me some money to offset, because I'm employing all these other people. I got these people in the office and stuff, and I got zero revenue because I can't get any advertising dollars. I can't sell any season tickets. I can't do this and that. So they need to step up. Otherwise, they should sit there and say, okay, we're going to open up our doors and have the fans that want to come in and have their shots and ready to go. And the politicians and the health units and that, they don't want that. So, it's kind of a rock and hard place. Again, getting back to the original question on it, I would not want to be in Randy's shoes.
How about this, Steve? I mean, if I've got a small business in the United States, they'll give me a paycheck protection loan. What's the difference? Are you against that also?
Repeat the question.
All right. So if I own a small business that is going under because the government will not allow me to operate, what is the difference between that and the CFL? You could say, well, it's a professional football league, but it is still government restrictions which are keeping them from operating and making money. So why, if I'm the government and I don't think you should be operating, why should you lose everything? It's not your fault. COVID wasn't your fault. So why can't you get some money out of the government if they won't allow you to open? And the other thing is this. There was 20,000 people at an MMA event 2 weeks ago. It wasn't a super spreader event. There are not a bunch of people sick. The Texas Rangers, first 2 games of the season, 100% occupancy, 40,000 people, wasn't a super spreader event. And the Canelo fight, 73,000 people in Jerry Jones's world. And my guess is a week or two from now, we'll find out nothing was spread from that. So I don't see how this is not the same thing as the
I'm not arguing that point. I'm all for letting people get together.
This is not like the
I'm
CFL.
Inoculated.
This is not like the CFL saying, or it's not like the CFL saying, well, we had a really bad business year. We're losing money. Government, help us out so we don't go out of business. This is the government telling them they can't do business.
All right, I see your point. I see your point, and I say
I just kicked his ass.
If the government,
yes, you did. Thank you.
If the government feels that the CFL is that important of a treasure and that important of a piece of the Canadian government's infrastructure, then by all the means support it.
Are they bailing out businesses in Canada that are smaller
Yes,
businesses?
they are.
What's the difference, Steve?
I mean, you're exactly right. That's a great point. That's right. I think that, and I guess I'm looking at it from a perspective of the major sports in the United States.
The billionaire boys, which we're not. These are millionaire.
But what the United States government did for the pro sports in the United States up until a point, now most of them have gotten rid of it. They used tax incentives. They gave them 501c.
Well, they were tax exempt. But
then the NFL said, we don't want that anymore because if I give you tax exempt status, the government then has the right to look at your books. And the NFL said, we're making so much dadgum money, I don't want you looking at my books anymore. So forget the tax exempt status. That's the same with the NCAA. NCAA said, well, they actually still take the tax exempt status.
Well, look at right now. Our major league teams, our NHL franchise, are only playing in Canadian teams across Canada that haven't crossed over the border. Our Toronto Blue Jays are playing in Florida. That's their home base. Our Toronto Raptors are playing down south. We've got nothing going on because the Canadian government has said absolutely no. Provinces don't want people connecting. Like, I can't leave our province. Like, our province is a state. You guys, we can't leave. The people on one side. If I leave to go to Nova Scotia, I got to quarantine for 14 days there. Even if I drove across for 30 seconds and I came right back, my own province would make me quarantine for 14 days. And not only that, I have to pay $200 a night and stay in a hotel for at least 10 of the days and spend $2,000 and have 2 tests done to prove that I'm negative before I'm allowed to leave and go home and finish my quarantine at home. That's how tight the government here has controlled everything on us right now, which is great because, I mean, right now we have like 180 cases in our province. So, we're doing well, and I get what the government's trying to do. But when you're also taking a league like this and saying absolutely you can't have it and they can't get money, they can't do this, they need to step up and do something. They're helping out everybody else. The $1 billion boys, they can handle it. The Jerry Jones and those guys, they can write
Darin, let me ask you a question you're not going to know the answer to.
What I talked to Steve.
Yeah, exactly. How many people does the CFL employ I'll give you all the teams. 1,000,
okay, all
2,000,
the teams
3,000.
You've got 9 teams. You got 9 teams. You got 450, 500 players on the teams, half of which are Canadian, half are American, let's call it. Then you're going to go through, the people that work at the games, the people that work in the teams. I would probably
10,
say you're... Sure, okay.
I mean, again, Mike, do my math. Okay. Is in looking at all the businesses that are in Canada, does that rank high enough that we need to make the CFL a priority to fund and to try and pull out of
Wait a second.
the COVID
Wait a second.
crisis?
If I own a business, what's the difference how many employees I got?
How many jobs are created?
You
They're
shut me
funding
down.
businesses here in Canada that you've got 5 employees, 10 employees, 100 employees, 500 employees, 1,000 employees.
Right.
They're funding all of them.
Yeah.
So I think that the
Okay.
league should be looked at but what's happened is we've got people that are out there making it sound like this is the multi-billion-dollar league. The owners have got these billions of dollars, and they're funneling it in. They have been funneling losses. They were opening up their books and saying, "Here's our books. This is the revenue that we generated.
Sure.
Can you help us with some of the revenue that we're losing because of this? And we will chip in our own money too." We were looking at getting a loan from the government to pay back. So they've been looking at all these different things, and I think the government needs to step up. But I don't want to get into the political side of things because of my position I'm in. But I don't want to be in Randy's shoes. Get right back.
I think that Mike. I think we both would agree. We would do a complete separate show on it if the government started taking COVID relief money, started funding major league sports teams.
Yeah, because it's a totally different scenario.
Yeah.
Because Jerry Jones can set $1 million on fire every day, and it won't hurt him.
That's the most valued sports franchise in the world.
Yeah. And I guarantee you, he could burn $1 million every day for the rest
of above the Toronto Argonauts.
Well, a few of our teams on the western side of the country, they're community based. They're owned by the community. I mean, the communities are being shut down.
So the Green Bay Packers.
And they're nonprofits. They give the money back in the community. They do all the things they're giving back. Right now, they need it to come in order for them to give back later on to programs. Plus, it gives our kids an identity here to growing up that they want to be football players. They want to be the next, like in Riverview, we got Mike Miller that plays the Winnipeg Glow Bombers. Everyone wants to be like Mike Miller and play football. So it gives the kids something to look up to. I mean, how do you relate to Deion Sanders? I mean, that's great, but that's not from our town, and we can't relate to that, right? So
we don't relate to Deion Sanders.
I think that the league has done so much for the country over the years. It brings the country together every year for our Grey Cup. It's got a long historic. The CFL used to pay more than the NFL back in the 70s and 60s. Everyone from the States used to come up. We used to get all the big names coming up here because we were paying 5 times the guys you're paying down there for your stars. So, we just don't have the population base to support it financially that the teams are making. Basically, if you want to buy a CFL franchise, it's a drop in the hat compared to even buying a semi-pro team, baseball team in the States. Our junior A hockey teams are almost as valuable as a thing. And junior A hockey's been playing with 25% capacity inside the stadiums. We can't even get that for an outdoor venue. So it's the rules that are controlling it.
Let's get you off the hook before Randy gets
I promised my friends from the CFL I would not get political. So we'll.
Hey, you're getting political.
Hey,
Mike, Sean here. Sean, hi, Steve. I've finally heard of Canelo. Yes, I have. Thank you for that. You've opened my eyes. I'm almost becoming a boxing fan again.
No, you're not. You didn't even watch the fight, Steve.
I don't watch any fights, but I know
you just watch NASCAR.
And now I have somebody. Hey, I went and looked to see if I could pay-per-view the fight, but when it was $70, I thought, dude, that's a bucket of chicken wings
for $19.
When Chase Elliott's driving the Hooters car this weekend in Darlington, I made my choice. However, I did go look to see if I could buy the pay-per-view of the Canelo fight. So, and I'm looking to see that. Secondly, Darin is spot on in the CFL compared to the NFL. Okay, Darin, they give you that. The difference here is seeing the health system. Trust me, Sean, you don't want to get into the health systems between the United States and Canada. You do not want socialized medicine. Nobody wants socialized medicine.
How about this, Steve? How about this? Nobody wants socialized medicine, but nobody wants a system run by big drug companies either, which is what we have. So you're screwed either way.
Actually, did you watch the HBO documentary last night?
Let's do this. I don't care because we have somebody who is a Canadian that lives in Canada. How's the healthcare system?
Our healthcare system is fine. I mean, everyone here has access to healthcare.
You're getting major back surgery. Do you want your healthcare system?
I asked Darin a question, not Steve. Steve, I can mute your ass.
I'll give you both examples, okay? Because I've been on your side of the medical and I've been on this side. Here, it doesn't matter if you're a millionaire or you are on the streets. If you're sick, you're going to get help You're going to get your prescriptions. You're going to get all the things that you need in order to live.
So are you in the United
Covered
States?
is right across.
No,
Now,
you're not.
now
Yeah, you are.
there's
No,
waiting,
you're
there's waiting times. There's all this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Now, my son, he was at Episcopal High School in Alexandria, Virginia. I'll tell you this crazy story about my son. He just signed at Episcopal, and he was down there, and my wife and I, we had flown down to watch him play. So they were playing in Baltimore. So went down, watched the game, and then we flew back. 48 hours later, I get a call. My son's bleeding out. And I'm like, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm going, what the hell happened? Because he's been so ferocious on hitting people and pancaking, he actually blew his spleen up, and he was bleeding out inside. So I immediately got up, jumped on my car, and I drove to Bangor, to Maine, to get on a flight and shoot down to D.C. to be with him at the hospital. So while he was at the hospital, he was talking to the doctor about, what are his options. They said, well, we're going to cut you open, we're going to take your spleen out, you're going to be done for the year. And this was my son's big year for recruiting for scholarships. So he was already on there thinking about how do I how to get back on the field. So he's talking to his doctor. He found out that he was from the University of Florida and that I'd coached Jesse Palmer. So my son started talking about, Florida Gators, and his favorite quarterback was Jesse Palmer. So they had this connection. So the doctor says, well, there's this new procedure we can do, blah, blah, blah. So I get a phone call as I'm driving down the highway through Maine, and my son's on, Dad, I want to get my spleen removed. And I'm like, oh, shoot. Okay, how do I explain that to his stepmother and his mother? He's like, no, don't tell him. Don't tell him. So I'm like, okay. So yeah, we get down to the hospital. I roll into the hospital there, valet parking for me. Mr. Burns, would you like to have, eggs Benedict and a coffee and stuff while I'm waiting, So I'm sitting there eating. Beautiful. It's like being in a 5-star hotel. My son was in the hospital. They did the surgery. They removed his spleen. It was supposed to be an hour and a half. It took 9 hours. I was freaked out thinking I'm going to get my balls cut off, A, by my wife, and B, by my son's mother for not even informing them as to what was actually happening at the time. So, he got in, he had his surgery. The doctor did an amazing job on him. The care, I was eating prime rib in the hospital waiting. So this is all this insurance, this private insurance stuff that you talk about. I could never afford that, but because my son went to Episcopal, it was part of the package that they put him under. And I mean, his next door neighbor is George Bush's nephew. He's got ambassadors' kids in there. The Reverend Jesse Jackson's granddaughter goes there. Paul Ryan's daughter goes to the school. It's John McCain's old high school. Okay, so there's a lot of money at that school, and they covered it. So my son was treated like royalty. So getting to your medical system, paying the big dollars to have, I don't know what that policy cost, was amazing. 10 times better than you get in Canada. But that came at a huge cost by the school for my son. Now you take somebody here that has no money, they need help. They need that. So our system is open for everybody, and that's our medical system generally, unless you want to pay it. You can still pay it here in Canada to go to a private clinic and go do that. But you want to come in, our doctors are limited as how much money they make. In the States, it's not. We capped everything on drugs and all that kind of stuff. So back in the day, being a doctor, to be rich, might have been the way. Today, it's just another job. So that's why we lose a lot of our doctors to the States and to other countries, because they can make more money. So in Canada, our health system is good for everybody. If you need something, it gets taken care of. It may not be taken care of as fast and as nice as it is in the States, but that's what it is. But everyone can have it. In the States, again, it's only the people that have the money. People that don't, I've never experienced not having money living in the States, so I can't answer that side of it. But from what I've been hearing, you're in debt and you've got problems that can force you into bankruptcy. So if somebody gets sick, at least in our country, if you get sick, you do not have to go bankrupt.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with your assessment. It's like you said, healthcare in Canada is fine. Mm-hmm. It's fine.
But we can still go. You can still
get healthcare in the United States
at the hospital if we want to, but you pay for that at special clinics and stuff like that. So I think that in the States, again, everyone should have coverage. And if you want to have that,
there's Medicaid and Medicare.
Kiss my finger treatment, you pay a little extra for it, and away you go. But I just think that somebody that is incapable of paying medical bills and they're sick, they need help. That needs to be done. It needs to be taken. We're all human at the end of the day. You know, when you strip everything of money and everything away from people, everyone's got to treat everyone like a human being. That's just my thought on it.
Yeah, but we know that'll never happen.
No,
unfortunately.
You know, we in Canada here, you guys have got so much COVID vaccines and stuff down there that it's crazy. In Canada, we're begging you guys to give it. You know why? Pharmaceutical companies don't really like us up here because we put a cap on how much they can sell their drugs for here. So
I spent 25 years working for Pfizer.
What kind of scraps you got left in the United States? Can you bring it up to help us out up here? So, you know, you've got, there's a lot of ways on this stuff. And I think that, you know, I'm fortunate that I do live in Canada in some areas. In some areas, I wish I was in the States, you know, but medical, you know, if I didn't have that insurance and my son needed that surgery and it was life and death, I would have to sell my house. I'd have to sell my car. I'd have to sell everything I own just to pay the medical bill. You know, at least here it got taken care of. So there's just two ways of looking at it. But I think that there should be a two-tiered medical system in the States. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how you guys run it down there. I just know that we hear all kinds of stories. But in England it works well. Here it works well. Hell, even in Cuba it works well. So you know, everyone should have fair chance for medical coverage.
We don't have enough time to get into that conversation.
No, but
because you'll be wrong, Risley.
Yeah.
Anybody that's on the side of Big Pharma is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And they own our government to the tune of $4.4 billion last election cycle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I try to stay away from the politics. Today I didn't do a really good job with it. But,
that'll happen when you're with me and Risley, because he's like a communist and I'm a free man.
But no, I love our country. It's a great country to be in. You know, so I don't have, but again, you guys have got the Krispy Kreme donut franchises down there. You've got the thank you TGIFs. You've got all those fun places.
You know, I figured that Krispy Kreme is probably backed by Pfizer because, I mean, you go down there and eat that enough, you'll need to go to the hospital at some point.
Oh, my God. Every time I would go into D.C. and I'd fly back home, I'd bring back about 7 dozen donuts. This is before I was dieting and stuff like that. Oh, those original glazed ones like that, you just pop one in your whole mouth and just shove them. Like I could eat, in 12 bites, I could eat a dozen of those donuts. That's like crack cocaine for babies. It's just unbelievable.
Crack cocaine for babies? What the hell does that mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. Those all that candy and stuff like that. Oh my goodness, they're just amazing to have. Like you feel like a little kid eating those things. You're stuffing your face full of them. So.
All right. Gary Kress says, Gary. All right. Thanks for the comment, Gary Kress. All right.
And Sean says spot on, Mike, about 73K Canelo fight. I'm all for opening it up. You know,
well, I mean, the thing is, Sean says is that was, you know, 73,000 from probably 10 different countries.
10 countries, right? Yeah.
So we'll see in a couple weeks if anything happens from that, but I don't know. I don't think any of us have ever been told the truth about truly what's going on. I believe.
I mean, you know, I live in California, and right now, as of last week, and maybe it's only for 1 week, we had the lowest new diagnosis rate of any state in the country with COVID. So, and we've been one of the most restrictive, but we've also got a high percentage rate of vaccines and things of that nature in the state. They were really diligent about getting it done. And I know, Mike, you've got issues with that justifiably, and I don't need to debate it with you because I understand your position entirely.
Go ahead.
Yeah. But, you know, I think the United States has gotten a grasp on it and can control it as it sits right now. What scares me now is what the Chinese and other factions of governments do to circumvent what this country's done.
All right. I would have said this. I'm more worried about what factions of our own government will do. But
right. I didn't want to go down that road, but I'm more afraid of that than anything. Exactly.
All right, Darin, do you play this weekend, Saturday, right?
Yeah, Saturday we play out in St. John, New Brunswick. They're the St. John Wanderers. They're our nemesis. We have the St. J is our logo. So there's no love between the two teams. It will be a greasy football game. The last few championships, they've it's been Moncton and St. John battling it out. St. John had for a couple of years, and then Moncton got it back. Well, not last year because we do a season, but the season before. And so we're the reigning champs. So I think that we plan on prevailing in this game. But yeah, it's going to be a fun game. The weather's going to be great, and I'm looking forward to getting ready. I will have my hamstring ready. We have practice tonight, but I'll be not a spectator. I'll be doing the coaching on the defensive line and helping the kids out. So,
how do you guys get to your games?
Bus.
Yeah, you're nothing like an American
50,
semi-pro team.
Oh, yeah. Tell me you dress after you get to the stadium.
Oh, yeah. We get dressed. We have our taping. We have everything set up, our jerseys and pants.
You go in the night before? You go in the night before?
No, because everything here is like 2 hours away.
Okay.
From Moncton. So we can get to St. John in 2 hours, Fredericton in 2 hours, Halifax 2 hours, PEI in 2 hours.
Okay.
So everything's 2 hour drive. So what we'll do is if our game is at 2, we'll leave here around 9. We'll get there. We'll have something to eat on the bus. We get in. The trainers are already waiting for us. The tape tables. We go through our taping. Our gear and everything's laid out for us. We go get ready. We go on the field. We do our warm-ups. We come back in. Then we go play the game. Finish. Package it all up. Get back on the bus and head back. So it's pretty cool. I mean, if it was far enough that we had to fly, yeah. But I mean, we're just playing in Atlantic Canada, so nothing here is that far away, which is nice. So it'd be like playing football in Texas. Oh, actually, Texas would be some of those areas, 10-hour drives to get across and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, if those bus rides were longer, your age would preclude you from going to away games. You get 8 hours on a bus, try to get off the bus and play.
That hamstring beat.
Well, that's where I'd be asking for an exemption, and I'd have somebody drive my car, and I would sit in the passenger seat.
I coached arena and indoor football for like 5 or 6 years, and I wasn't playing. I was just coaching. But an 8 or 9 hour, 10-hour bus ride, that can pretty much kick your ass.
Yeah, no. I wouldn't be doing that. No. I'd be a homebody player.
All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Can they watch the game on the Moncton Facebook page?
We should have it on the Facebook page again. I know our home games this past game. Josh Dickinson, our president, we were supposed to have the game on actual TV with the score on there and commentators and all that stuff, but because of COVID restrictions, you're not allowed to have 4 people in the trailer. You're allowed to have 2 in and 2 have to stay outside, or you have to figure something out. With the weather the way it was, they couldn't have electronics outside. So the game was scrapped. So Josh, because of the importance of the game, went and used the phone. That game was televised through an iPhone upstairs on the broadcast. So,
whatever.
I mean, it worked, but I don't know what St. John has. They will be, but I know our next game will be televised. But anyone that wants to watch it can go to Moncton Mustangs Facebook page or even my Facebook page. I'll have the link on there, or I'll share it with you guys and share it out when I get it. But yeah, our games, we this past week, because we're the only game in Canada being played, and because of the recognition I've been getting in Canada for my achievement, Football Canada, other football organizations and outlets shared it. So we had probably our biggest attendance for a game this past week watching it through an iPhone. So, but hey, the comments were great. People enjoyed just seeing football being played, and no talk of COVID for 3 hours. So it was good. So I think that if anyone wants to watch it, go to the Moncton Mustangs Facebook page. Actually, get on there and like it. I mean, there's some fun stuff that goes on there. And then you'll have the updates on everything like that. Go on my Facebook page. I accept everybody, we'll see what we can we'll put together. But I'm sure the game will be televised. You should be able to watch it this weekend.
All right, guys, we're running out of time, so we will be back tomorrow, me and Steve Risley, to talk about Tim Tebow signing with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and hopefully next week we get Darin back on, talk about his game. But
get another ageless wonder trying to make it again.
Come on, we've got like 30 seconds, Risley.
I got kids older than Tebow. Okay, they were making a thing about Jason Terrace on our team, and he's coming back at 38 years of age. I got a daughter his age. I could be a grandfather of some of these kids on the team here. But Tebow, he's 30, 28, 29?
I think he's around
We'll
30.
find out tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll
Let's
figure it
see
out
tomorrow.
tomorrow by the time we do the
Hey,
show.
listen, I think
Don't ruin our show for tomorrow, Darin.
But I'll give you a point. On Tebow, I'm really impressed with that kid. He's been hanging in there and doing his thing. He's been showing he's a versatile athlete and stuff like that. And I think it's good. I think it's great that he's coming back to the NFL and going as a tight end. That's going to give his old coach a few little tricks in the playbook.
Yep, and haters are always gonna hate. So what the hell?
Hey, exactly. But what I tell haters is, show up at a tryout. Line up against the guy you like to hate and see how long you hate him for.
Again.
Oh, shut up.
All right, that's it. Cut it off. End the show, Mike. End it now or I'm going to hang up.
I had a guy once that said on a comment. And
you know what? I'm going to come up there, put on a pair of pads, get against using offensive tackle, and plant your ass so far in the ground you won't be able to see straight.
You got to bring a lot of syrup, my friend.
That's fine. I can bring it.
The trash talk is starting. But I had
Goodbye,
this guy
Mike. Let's go. Goodbye.
I had this guy on Facebook put down embarrassing.
Goodbye.
On a
We'll be quiet, Steve.
So I just said to him, I go, so anyhow, he had this thing on embarrassing, and I was like, okay, what's embarrassing about this? I'm delivering a good message. You know, it's about abuse of the kids. Let's get back to why I'm doing this. It's a platform that I'm doing, right? So I went through and I listed the things. And then at the end, I just couldn't resist it. So I said, embarrassing, I tell you what. I will personally fly you out to Atlanta, Canada, put you up in a hotel, all expenses paid, and I'll have you line up against me, and we'll put it on Facebook Live. And I said, it will be embarrassing, but not on my end. He got lambasted by all my lovers on there. That ended that whole conversation right there. So I got to thank my supporters. I've had a pretty good bunch of supporters support me on that. But at the end of the day,
Risley just challenged you because he just realized you're not allowed to go province to province.
Look, I don't want to say another word because it'll be another damn 20-minute story. Let's go.
No, it's all good. But hey,
here we go.
I just think I'm enjoying it. No, I'm enjoying it for the message, and that's what we got to keep focused on.
That's what's important.
Hey, Darin, the other story is this: about a year and a half ago, we had somebody from the American Cornhole Association on that offered for me and Steve to come to Vegas and actually play before their national championships, and Risley backed out.
I've retired
from cornhole.
Yeah, you can tear a hamstring play. I'm not saying a word. Goodbye. You'll have another damn story about cornhole. Get us off the air.
I got some cornhole stories. All right.
Goodbye.
We're going to let you go for now. For Steve Risley, Darin Burns, Mike.
Bye, Darin.
You've been watching and listening to the Grueling Truth. We're the legends.